Hello and welcome students. Today we are going to learn about the next important topic called as the somatic structure, that is called as general characteristics of fungi. In that we discuss about the definition of fungus, somatic structure of fungus, types of fungal thallus or thalli, then fungal tissue and the modification of thallus. Okay, so let us see one by one. In that we already discussed about the general characteristics of fungi and the definition of fungi. Okay, so next we discuss about the important point, modification of hypa in fungi. Okay, so as we know that the different modification of fungi we have mentioned it here. Here the modification of hyphae, that means what, the hypa that modify itself, or the fungus that changes its structure or its own structure itself due to certain unfavorable environmental condition. That means if in the environment favorable condition is not arise, so at that time what happens here, that fungi modify itself. Okay, so which are the modifications? First one is plectenchyma, rhizomorph, sclerotium, stromata, pseudosclerotium or pseudosclerotia, then aprosorium and hostorium. Okay, so these are the 7 modification of fungi we have to mention here. So first we discuss about the definition of fungus. In that, so we already discussed about the definition of fungi. So again we discuss in brief. So it is defined as the eukaryotic nucleated dipore bearing achlorophyllous organism generally produced by asexual and sexual method, and whose filamentous, if branched, the somatic structure is generally covered by the cell wall, and the cell wall is made up of chitin and cellulose. So as we know that eukaryotic means all the microorganism which is present inside the fungus tissue. So all that microorganism like endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi bodies, then vacuoles, okay, all that materials are well developed. Okay, then nucleated, okay, then dipore bearing achlorophyllous, that means absence of chlorophyll, and it is made up of, or it is produced by the asexual and sexual method, as we already discussed about that. And lastly, as we know that the cell wall of fungi is made up of chitin or cellulose. Okay, so here we discuss one by one. Next one here, somatic structures, or what are the modification of the fungus. First one is hostorium. So in flowering plant parasite or phanerogamic plant parasite, in that topic we already discussed about the what is meant by hostorium and aprosorium also. So as we know that the hostorium, here it is mentioned, hostorium is nothing but, here it is specialized projection or root like branch of organ of parasite that penetrate the host tissue and absorb the nutrient and water from the host cell. So as we know that here it is the outgrowth of the fungus which is penetrate inside the host cell, and that hostorium, it absorb the nutrient and water from the plant host cell. So hostorium is called as an the absorbing organ. It absorbs the nutrient, water and food material from the host cell. Okay, so this is called as an the hostorium, that is it is called as an absorbing organ. Next one is the aprosorium. So as we know that these are the localized swelling of the tip of germ tube or older hyphae that develop in response to contact with the host. In short, what is meant by aprosoria? In simple, these are the special structure of attachment in early stages of the infection. So let us see here the aprosorium as means. So in case of rust fungi, here it is mentioned iridospore, and from that iridospore it is an initial organ of the fungi that comes in contact with the host. So that initial organ of the fungi which is comes in contact with the host surface, it is called as aprosorium. Okay, the next one is the types of fungal thalli or the thallus. So as we know that what is meant by thallus, so thallus means it is the body of the, or it is the whole body of the fungi without root, stem and leaves. So what is meant by thallus? Again, it is the whole body of the fungus without root, stem and leaves. So it is called as an thalli. So thalli are divided into two parts. First one is homothallic fungi and second one is the heterothallic fungi. Okay, so homothallic fungi means what? If the male and female sex organ of the fungi or both the gametes are produced on the same thallus, that means on the same body of the fungus when male and female sex organs are produced. Okay, so it is called as an homothallic fungi. Okay, so homo means same. Okay, next one is the heterothallic fungi. So hetero means different. So if male and female sex organ or both the gametes are produced on the different thallus or different sexual or different fungal structure, then it is called as an heterothallic fungus. For example, rust fungi. So they are having the different mating types or different types of the fungal structure. So it is called as an heterothallic fungi. Next one is the fungal tissue. Okay, so fungal tissue is modified into the plectenchyma. So what is meant by plectenchyma? During certain stages of fungal development, the mycelium become organized into loosely or compact woven tissue as against the loose hyphae. That means the loose hyphae ordinarily found in the mycelium. The organized tissue mycelium, the organized tissue is called as plectenchyma. That means what? During the growth of the fungus, some of the fungus that are aggregated or clump into the simple structure just like in the compact woven mass of the tissue. So that structure is called as in the plectenchyma. Okay, the next one is the here after that plectenchyma. Here the plectenchyma is having the two parts or two types. First one is pseudoparenchyma and next one is prosenchyma. So pseudoparenchyma means what? In the fructification of higher fungi, that is means during the development of higher fungi, the hypha become woven and intertwined into the compact mass. That means as we know that in the picture, the hypha, single hypha or number of hypha that are grouped together and they make a clump or compact mass. So it is that structure is called as in the pseudoparenchyma. Then prosenchyma means what? It is rather a loosely woven tissue of hyphae. The hyphae composing it do not lose their identity. They run more or less parallel to one another and composed of elongated cells. That means the elongated hyphae that are comes in contact with each other and they are parallel to each other. When such a aggregation or when such a structure of that hyphae is formed, then it looks like the oven or just it look like the parallel to each other that tissue. So it is called as an prosenchyma. That woven tissue is called as an prosenchyma. And pseudoparenchyma means what? It is the somewhat circular or globular structure. And prosenchyma that are elongated and parallel to each other. Okay. The next one is their modification of mycelium or the thallus. It is very important point. So why the mycelium or fungi modify itself or why they are modified itself? First one is the rhizomorph. Okay, so rhizomorph means what? Rhizomorph means what? It is a thread-like or cord-like structure in fungi which is made up of parallel hyphae, branched tubular filamentous that makes up the body of typical fungus. So rhizomorph acts as a absorbing and translation organ. Okay, so in simple, okay, simple means rhizome means root-like. Okay, rhizomorph means what? Root-like structure of the hyphae. So the root-like structure of the hyphae which is present in fungi which is responsible for absorption of the nutrient. So as in picture we can clearly see that the loosened hyphae or the whitish mycelial growth will be or root-like structure will be observed of the fungi, and that root-like structure of the fungi they absorb the nutrient and water from the soil. Okay, so that structure is called as the rhizomorph. Second one is the stroma. Second one is the stroma or stromata. So stromata means what? It is the compact mass of the hyphae which are aggregate together or compact tissue that forms a flat plate or mass. The hyphae may be inflated, intertwined, have lost identity to form tissue that looks like parenchyma tissue of the plant called as in the pseudoparenchyma. Okay, that means what? The when the mycelium, when it becomes fragmented or broken into the small pieces, so what happens here? The tissue, whatever the hyphae it looks like, so that hyphae it looks like the parenchymatous tissue, or it is a flat in structure which are aggregate together. Okay, so that structure it is very hard and woody or soft or fleshy, depending on the type of the fungus. That stroma, or it is a compact hyphae of the mass, or a compact hyphae of the fungus, so it is hard or woody or soft. It may be depending on the type of the fungus. So it is called as the stroma or stomata. Okay, so mostly it is formed in the which fungus? Mostly claviceps fusiformis fungus. As we know that in ergot disease, whatever the structure is formed, that structure is called as the stroma. So it is an infectious structure of the fungus. Next one is the sclerotium. So in very simple word, the sclerotium is what? A persist vegetative resting spores of the certain fungi, mostly in Botrytis sclerotium fungus. It consists of hard, dense, compact mycelium. Okay, so it is called as in the sclerotium. That means if you observe the root of the some of the plants, so what happens here? The mustard like seed is observed. As we see that in the picture, what happens? Mustard like seed is observed where the infection of fungi is takes place to the roots. Okay, so this structure is called as the sclerotium. मोहरीच्या दाण्याच्या आकारासारखे बुरशीचे जे कण तयार होतात कुठं? रूट्सच्या आतमध्ये, बरोबर. असं ज्यावेळेस स्ट्रक्चर दिसतं त्याला आपण काय म्हणतो? स्क्लेरोशियम. एकदम हार्ड असतं ते. ओके, सो इट इज हार्ड रेस्टिंग बॉडी ऑफ द फंगस. Sometimes it is called as it is a hard resting body of the fungus, just look like in the seeds of mustard. So it is called as in the sclerotium. Then which are the types of the sclerotium? So very simple, myceliginous sclerotium. That means what? If the sclerotia or mustard like seed germinate directly into the mycelium, that means what? From that sclerotium, from that seed like or mustard like seed of the fungus, if after the germination of that sclerotium, when there is a development of fungus or mycelium, then it is called as in the myceliginous. Okay, so it is, for example, Rhizoctonia solani. Rhizoctonia solani. That means from the sclerotia, after the germination of sclerotia, that are converted into the mycelium. The next one is carpogenous carpogenous sclerotium. So carpogenous means what? If the sclerotia germinate and gives rise to the spore fruit bearing stalks. That means what? After the germination of the sclerotia, they produces the spore fruit. They produces the spore fruit, and inside the spore fruit, different spores are produced. Inside the spore fruit, different spores are produced. Then it is called as the carpogenous sclerotium. For example, claviceps fusiformis, that is called as an ergot of bajra. And third one is sporogenous. If the sclerotia germinate and it gives rise to the sporogenous spores, that means from the sclerotia, if the after the germination of the sclerotia, if it is produces the different spores, then it is called as the sporogenous fungus or sporogenous sclerotia. So very simple, after the germination of sclerotia, if the mycelium or when the sclerotia develop directly into mycelium, it is called as myceliginous sclerotium. If the sclerotia produces the spore fruit bearing stalk, then it is called as carpogenous. And if the sclerotia after the germination of sclerotia, when it produces the spores, then it is called as sporogenous sclerotia. So it is very simple. Then second last is dormant mycelium. In Marathi it is called as dormant means what? संतृप्त अवस्था आपण अशी म्हणतो. तर डॉर्मंट म्हणजे सुप्त अवस्था. Okay, so dormant mycelium is what? It is the mycelium which hibernate in the host tissue to tide over unfavorable condition. That means what? As we know that for the development of fungus or mycelium, favorable condition is required, like favorable temperature, atmospheric humidity, optimum rainfall, or optimum moisture is required. But if such a favorable condition is not available in environment, so at that period what happens here? What happens? There is a some modification, or fungi hibernate itself in the soil or in the different straw. It may be wheat straw or paddy straw. बरोबर. मायसिलियम काय करते, वातावरणामध्ये फेवरेबल कंडिशन नसल्यामुळं लपून बसती. कुठं? सॉईलमध्ये किंवा पॅडी स्ट्रॉमध्ये किंवा व्हीट स्ट्रॉमध्ये लपून बसती. आणि ज्यावेळेस फेवरेबल कंडिशन येईल त्यावेळेस परत जर्मिनेशन त्याचं होतं. बरोबर. त्यामुळे ह्याला म्हणतो आपण डॉर्मंट मायसिलियम. म्हणजेच काय? दोज फंगस विच हायबरनेट in the soil or in the seeds or in the different straw of the different planting material, and when the favorable condition is arises and it germinate rapidly, so it is called as the dormant mycelium. Next one is the Jimmy. Last one is Jimmy. So Jimmy means what? These are the chlamydospore produced in lower fungi whose walls are thinner. They are occur either singly or in the chain after maturity. So Jimmy is nothing but it is a modification of fungus, but it looks like the circular and thick structure will be produced as which is mentioned in diagram, and that each and every chlamydospores, they are attached together, and after maturity what happens, that chlamydospores are released or they are detached from each other, and each chlamydospores germinate itself, okay, individually. So such a structure is called as in the Jimmy. ह्याला आपण काय म्हणतो? Jimmy. So these are all the modification of the fungus. For example, कुठले कुठले modification बघितले आपण? Rhizomorph, first one is, second one is sclerotium, third one is prosenchyma, fourth one is plectenchyma, next one is pseudoparenchyma, next one is the dormant mycelium, and last one is the Jimmy. So these are the certain modification of the fungus. Okay, so this is very simple topic. Okay, so if you have any kind of queries or difficulty in that topic, so you can ask. Okay, so you can ask me personally. Okay, thank you.